There will be an interactive segment towards the end where you will have the opportunity to ask questions and share your thoughts. With that, I now have the honor of inviting Advocate Raghvendra Pratap Singh to begin today's session and share his invaluable insights with us. Thank you, sir, and over to you.
Thank you, Garv, for such a generous introduction. Uh, it's, as I mentioned, it's a very pleasant experience for me to be interacting with such bright and young minds. And you all are the future of tomorrow, right? And with the level of engagement and initiative that we see coming around from your end, it's very heartening for us to be, to be here, or rather to witness such an involved discussion. Because I mean, even before starting of the session, there were few questions, there were few, talking points which we took up, and they were all very, very relevant. So moving ahead with today's discussion, so as rightly pointed out by Garv, that in today's times, the legal fraternity, legal domain, and the overall industry, it's undergoing certain changes. These changes at times seem very subtle. These changes at times seem not very, obvious, but a cumulative effort of the changes which have been transpiring over the past 3-4 years, especially in the legal domain, they are shaping a new world for lawyers, new world for aspiring advocates who are going to join the industry in a while from now. So today's session, today's discussion will precisely be on the changing nature of the legal industry and the changing nature of expertise which is required to cope up with the challenges which the changing times will be presenting to us, and how we can be well prepared so that while being in law school, we are ready for the industry. And as I mean, it's always better to hit the ground running. So instead of being on the mark and warming up while you are going to participate in a race, it's always good to be taking a stroll and warming up. So for you all, college or probably the formative years of your law career will be the most suitable time when you should start inculcating such behavioral patterns which make you more suitable for the industry, which make you more, I'll say, useful for your clients, and which will make you more noticeable in the eyes of the judicial officers before whom you are presenting your case. Or a lot of you would be, judges or judicial officers tomorrow. So it'll be more apt for you to have such skills, have such practical exposure, so that when you get into the profession, it's not a tough task for you. Okay, so just to name a few changes which have happened recently, because we are talking about the changing pattern in the legal industry and this and that and whatnot. So let me also spell out the changes which have been brought. So the latest change in the series of multiple changes that has happened. So you would have all of you are aspirants of law, or rather you would be practitioners of law, if not aspirants. So you would have observed this thing, that in the May, if I'm right, in the May of 2025, the Honorable Supreme Court pronounced a judgment, All India Judges Association versus Union of India. And in this judgment, the Honorable Court categorically pointed on the current state of judicial officers, right? So leave aside lawyers, leave aside advocates. When we talk about the judicial officers, even they are not fit for the job. You understand how paradoxical and how shaking this remark is. It's not only a big surprise for the judiciary aspirants, because I have been, apart from practicing law, I have been mentoring students for judicial services, for their practice in courts. So I've been into it. So let me tell you, I have seen a very stark reaction. I have seen very, I'll say, abrupt reactions from the aspirants. sir, ye kya ho gaya? It should not have happened, right? I am preparing for being a judge. I was in my fifth year. I have been preparing all this while, and out of nowhere, the honorable court has asked, we need to have 3 years of experience. But you must understand that this 3 years of experience is not a whimsical fantasy of the court. It's not like court was having nothing to do to, so the honorable court pronounced judgment asking you to have a practice, or rather have an experience into it. It was incumbent upon those judges to pronounce such a judgment, having seen the state of district courts. So much so, let me also tell you, a lot of my batchmates from college, a lot of my colleagues from the bar, a lot of my juniors also from the bar and college, and the people around, they are working as judicial officers in multiple forums in multiple states, and all of them face one big problem that ये मैंने लॉ स्कूल से निकला, मैंने एग्जाम दिया, मैं जज बन गया, अब बड़े बड़े वकील आते हैं, वो मेरे ऊपर प्रेशर डालते हैं, मुझे पता नहीं उनसे कैसे जवाब दूं. So a few of them are very considerate and they listen to those judges and bear with their tantrums. But a bigger number of them, having been a judge at the age of 25, 26, they are on the cloud 9. They believe themselves to be in a position of authority. And as we discussed in the initial part of this discourse, that when we get authority, then we have a tendency to use, and having said use, also misuse the authority. So there is no proper conduct which these young judicial officers, which they need to show, but they're not able to show. So this is one big change you all would have observed. Another big change is in the mid of 2025, last year, the Department of Law and Justice, Government of India, after an extensive policy making exercise, after an extensive research exercise, they have now allowed entry of foreign law firms into India. When I say entry of foreign law firms into India, do not mistake me, and do not get misguided by this thing, because way back in 2014 itself, 2014, around 12 years back, 2014 itself, the government had allowed the foreign law firms to open their subsidiaries into India. As of what I have known, this institute, GGS IPU, this is based out of Delhi. And in Delhi, if you have moved around in the legal fraternity, you would have seen a few offices. Clifford and Chance have opened their subsidiary in Delhi. Allen and Overy, if I'm not wrong, they have their subsidiary in Mumbai. Hubbard Smith Freehills, they have their subsidiary in Bangalore or Mumbai. So these three names which I took, they are among the top law firms, top 5 law firms rather, across the globe. The other two being either White and Case LLP is there, or a couple of firms from US. So these 3 big law firms, like in the consultancy, we have Big 4, KPMG, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, and PwC. Similarly, in law firm circuit also, we have got some big law firms in which you have these, the ones I talk. So they, even though they had their offshore offices in Lucknow, subsidiary offices in Lucknow, now, after the 2025 order of the Government of India, now they have a liberty of opening their full-fledged law offices in India. So this was the second big change which was there. The third change, which was a bit older, so in 2024 July, there was a big shift, there was a big change which was brought, and new criminal laws were introduced in India. Repealing the older criminal laws when I mean to say, we are talking about the Indian Penal Code, the substantive criminal law, the Criminal Procedure Code, the procedural criminal law, and the third one being the Indian Evidence Act, which is not outrightly limited to criminal law, because you all know the process of evidence and witnesses and the presentation of the same, which is given in the BSA or the Indian Evidence Act, as well Indian Evidence Act, they have their bearing on civil side of litigation also and on the criminal side also. But more or less, it has got a lot of bearing on the criminal jurisprudence and criminal process. So these three new criminal laws were introduced, and with the introduction of these three criminal laws, there was a substantive shift, and I'll say there's a meaningful shift into the criminal jurisprudence of the country also. So this was the third change. And the fourth change, which we all are witnessing in this digital era, very crazy, very useless things like digital arrest and what not is happening, you all know. So much so that the government was forced to bring in an advisory, not on government platforms and newspapers, but even when we are making a call, then there's a disclaimer that if there's someone who is calling you and posing to be a CBI judge and this and that, please do not get fooled and be aware of your rights. So this is something which did not happen some 5-7 years back. 5-7 years back, law school curriculum and law school training and grooming of new lawyers was a different thing altogether. There were a different set of challenges and there were different things to pay attention to. But now with a changing nature, change is one constant thing which is part of the nature. And I do not know about other aspects of life, but for law, change is the most constant thing. Today, you'll be having a particular order of the Honorable Court on a point stating that this is the position of law. Tomorrow, a higher bench will overrule that and you will be asked to comply with the latest order. So change is something which is a very intrinsic part of a legal system, and it should be. Because with changing times, with changing needs, the law needs to adapt to it. But you also understand that these changes which are there, as much as they are challenging, they are bringing a lot of opportunities with them. They are bringing a lot of, I'll say, brilliant minds who are working on these things, who are working in these sectors, be it your litigation, be it your law firms, be it as a judicial officer, be it as a freelancer, be it as a consultant, whatever role of law you have taken up, there are multiple opportunities which these changes have brought. One big change, as I told you, the market size has grown by bounds. Currently, Indian legal scenario, Indian legal industry is pegged at around $40 billion, more than $40 billion. And if you look at the projections, it is estimated to be above $60 billion by 2030. You see, it's a CAGR of around 25%. Around 25% compounded annual growth rate you can clock going by these figures. So the industry is growing leaps and bounds, and with the growth of the industry, there is a very incumbent requirement of top law professionals and good minds who can bear these challenges. So this is one good thing which is again happening for all of us. Secondly, there's certain specific area of law which are into vogue, which are, I would say, they are into the trend. One which is very, very obvious is artificial intelligence and cyber related issues. The other one, you all know, the level of sensitization and awareness around environment and climate. It has gone to a level which was unprecedented till now. In 2015, when the Paris climate deal was struck, I'm sure you would have heard about Paris climate deal. So in order to ensure that sustainable development happens and global warming and climate change can be catered to, a deal was signed by around 193 countries. So it's pretty much all the countries in the world, because there are 193 members in the United Nations organization also. So 190 plus countries, they signed an agreement, they signed a deal under the aegis of UNFCCC. UNFCCC is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So they signed a deal, and that was to ensure that global warming and environmental degradation can be limited. So the environmental and social compliances, these have also taken a boost, and multiple opportunities, new opportunities have come up in this also. And you all know, month by month, every year, you will see there is a jump in the tax realization by the government. A lot of people are coming under the tax net. A lot of new taxation policies have been introduced, especially with the coming of the GST. A big sector of Indian economy has been formalized as far as tax incidence and tax realization is concerned. Because prior to GST, there was nothing like e-way bill. And you'll say, sir, what is special about e-way bill? So my friends, e-way bill is one such tool which has ensured a very due compliance and a very timely compliance of the indirect taxes. For every transportation which is beyond the value of 50,000 rupees, an e-way bill needs to be introduced. An e-way bill needs to be generated. So when we talk about e-way bill, when we talk about these things, they have in a way brought a big sector of dark economy into the limelight, into the current, you can say, compliance mode. So this has again resulted into a lot of opportunities. But when there are opportunities, there are a lot of takers for that opportunity. If you get to know that this particular thing is, happening, everyone is, because fear of missing out is a constant thing for everyone. So we also start being part of that rat race as to how to make our own distinguished place, so that we can be hired, so that we can be engaged, so that we can be consulted, so that we can be, onboarded as a counsel, as a litigant, as whatever. तो for that it is very very important, बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है हमारे लिए कि अपना जो प्रोफाइल है, अपनी जो स्किल सेट है, उसको enhance किया जाए. In the initial leg of the session, there was a question by, if I'm not wrong, Avanti. So she asked, sir, is it important to be a journalist, or will be more better off being a specialized human resource? So obviously, you all have studied all the laws in your law school, 5 years of law school that you have, or probably 3 years of law school that you have. The curriculum is designed in a manner by the Bar Council so that it covers all the laws. So when you step out of law school, you are a generalist by default. The need is to become specialized in particular domains of law. And those specializations will not come by pursuing an LLM or pursuing a PhD in that particular domain. Rather, that specialization will come with enhancement of skills, with upskilling. Now, upskilling is something which will not necessarily happen after college. There is one more misnomer among the students that, okay, I'll work on my skills, I'll upskill myself when I am in my 5th year, or probably when I get out of college, or when I am this and that. The day you start is the right time to start upskilling yourself. All my friends who are in their first year of second year or third year of law school, if you're thinking that I still have a lot of time before me, I have a lot of time ahead of me, and I can take care of these things later, let me tell you, it's not a very right direction. It's not a correct approach, rather. So upskilling yourselves is the need of the hour. And when we talk about upskilling, so I have got certain special things for you also. So having graduated from college, having enrolled in the bar एसोसिएशन का मेंबर बन गए, उसके बाद चलिए वकालत करेंगे, पैसे कमाएंगे, वो तो हर कोई करने वाला है, वो लोग कर भी रहे हैं. लेकिन with the advent of technological interventions, with the advent of newer type of works and assignments which have come to us, we very well can be, making a good earning while being in law school. Law school खत्म करने के पहले भी, I have got a lot of, associates, or rather I'll say interns. Associates तो तब बनेंगे जब college खत्म करके join करेंगे मेरे को. I have a lot of interns who are getting paid, and who are getting paid decently, and not like they are being asked to work rigorously. They are doing a very comfortable work. They are taking care of their law school also. They are working also, and still they are making a good handsome amount of money, at least for themselves to become financially independent. They are making enough. So this is also one consideration which you all should groom while being in law school itself. Okay. So now, in order to do all these things, what all things do we need to focus on? What all things do we need to work on? So let's come to that. So one thing that is very, very important, very, very essential for all of us to pay attention to is making a connect, establishing a bridge between the classroom learning and the courtroom practices, or you can say whatever forum you want to work in. Courtroom is a general word for all the forums where we practice as lawyers or advocates. Now it can be a courtroom also. If you are interested into, let's say, into some tribunal, there can be multiple tribunals. You can read courtroom as tribunals also. If you are interested into pursuing career into alternate dispute resolution mechanisms, it can be, for that matter, an arbitral tribunal also. It can be a mediation cell also, right? So whatever industry you want to make a career in, consider that thing as a courtroom, and consider your current learning in your normal college lectures as your classroom. So if I ask you one question, you can comment your answers in the comment box. So I suppose all of you, if not all, then most of you would have studied contract law, right? Contract law सबने पढ़ चुका हो, हर कोई पढ़ चुका होगा. जब हम कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लॉ की बात करते हैं, आप सभी लोग कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लॉ पढ़े हुए हो, लेकिन अगर आपके पास एक क्लाइंट आता है और उस क्लाइंट का इशू ये है कि उसने 1 लाख रुपए के बदले एक मोटर बाइक खरीदने का डील किया, उसने पैसे दे दिए, मोटर बाइक नहीं मिली, तो ब्रीच ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? सबको पता है ब्रीच ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो गया. द ऑब्लिगेशन वाज नॉट मेट. नाउ इफ इन केस देयर इज अ ब्रीच ऑफ सच कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, do you really know how to get an effective remedy from the court? Are you in a position to judge right now as to whether you should file a suit for recovery of damages which have arisen because of the breach of contract, or you need to go for the specific relief, you need to go for specific performance of the promise? And if at all you have to choose any of these, under which provision of the law, under which order of the CPC you will proceed, and how will you calculate the court fees, and how will you evaluate the dispute? Do you have a clarity on this aspect? Yes, all the students. I mean, I'm waiting for your response here. You can just say yes or no, क्योंकि if I अगर आप लोग हाथ खड़ा करोगे तो थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा वो हो जाएगा, मतलब in the sense that you'll be talking and a lot of time will be taken up. So I'll be taking up all your questions in kind of oral format towards the end of the session. So please bear with me, because even I have some limitation of time. So I need to cater to all the agenda that we have. So more or less आप लोग बोल रहे हो कि नहीं सर उतना कंफर्टेबल नहीं है, तो वो चीज हमें करना है. आई एम श्योर अभी आप लोगों के सेमेस्टर एग्जाम्स खत्म हुए होंगे कुछ दिनों पहले, शायद आप लोगों का सेमेस्टर ब्रेक चल रहा हो, और अगर सेमेस्टर ब्रेक नहीं होगा तो नया सेमेस्टर शुरू हुआ होगा. तो एक चीज को पॉइंट बनाइए कि जब भी आप लोग का कोई सेमेस्टर खत्म हो रहा है, तो उस सेमेस्टर में कम से कम जो पढ़ी हुई चीज है उनके प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेशन, उनके यूसेजेस को देखा जाए. यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड हाउ टू ब्रिंग अ कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ लॉ इनटू रियल वर्ल्ड सिनेरियो सो दैट यू कैन जनरेट रिजल्ट्स आउट ऑफ इट. तो ये चीज करना बहुत जरूरी है. और एक अच्छी अप्रोच ये होगी कि जो एक आप लोगों का कॉलेज चलता है, तो आई एम श्योर 5 days या 6 days अ वीक का कॉलेज होगा, तो मंडे से लेके फ्राइडे या मंडे से लेके सैटरडे तक का कॉलेज होगा. तो उसके बाद जो सैटरडे संडे बच रहा है, कम से कम उन दिनों में अपने आप की थोड़ी ग्रूमिंग ऐसी की जाए कि भैया कॉलेज की किताबें नहीं छूनी है, लेकिन जो मैडम पढ़ा रही हैं, जो सर पढ़ा रहे हैं, जो मेरे लेक्चरर पढ़ा रहे हैं, जो मेरे फैकल्टी पढ़ा रहे हैं, उनका हम प्रैक्टिकल यूसेज कैसे करने वाले हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल दिस सेमेस्टर इफ यू आर गोइंग टू स्टडी फैमिली लॉ, इस सेमेस्टर अगर आप फैमिली लॉ पढ़ने वाले हो, आपको हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट पढ़ाया गया, और हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट में आपको पता है कि जुडिशियल सेपरेशन सेक्शन नंबर 10 में पढ़ा दिया गया है. तो अगर जुडिशियल सेपरेशन आपको लेना है, तो जुडिशियल सेपरेशन के लिए एप्रोप्रिएट फोरम क्या होगा? और if you have to get a decree for divorce, and you have got multiple grounds which you can avail as per section number 3, as per section 13(1), which of the grounds should you go for? For example, मेरा एक client है, husband है, उसकी एक wife थी, वो उसको बहुत मारता था. अब उन दोनों के बीच में बात नहीं बनती है, मेरे क्लाइंट को कोई और लड़की पसंद है, उसको किसी और से शादी करना ही है, जो लड़की थी वो शादी नहीं करने दे रही है. मेरे क्लाइंट ने मेरे को बोला, सर मेरे को डाइवोर्स दिला दो. तो मेरे पास मजाक, मतलब इट्स अ हाइपोथेटिकल सिनेरियो, प्लीज डू नॉट मेक फेसेस हियर, ओके, डू नॉट टेक इट सीरियसली. सो इफ माय क्लाइंट सेज दैट सर मेरे को डिवोर्स दिला दो, तो मेरे पास क्या होगा? अच्छा, सेक्शन 13 में क्रूअल्टी एक ग्राउंड है, तो एक काम करते हैं, क्रूअल्टी का ग्राउंड यूज करते हैं और क्लाइंट को डिवोर्स दिला देते हैं. डू यू थिंक इट इज अ बेटर अप्रोच? भाई मैंने ये तो सोच लिया कि मैं अपने क्लाइंट को डिवोर्स दिला दूंगा क्रूअल्टी के ग्राउंड पे, लेकिन ये भी तो आप समझो कि क्रूअल्टी इज एन ऑफेंस. आईपीसी में 498A के अंदर एक ऑफेंस